When you buy a new car, a smartphone, or even a basic coffee maker, it comes with a dense, detailed manual. But the most complex system on Earth, the human mind, is shipped entirely without documentation. Clinical psychologist Lane Lasater provides a window into what happens when a human system runs without a guide. Lane grew up in a well-meaning family that gave him everything they had, but severe, hidden family conflicts took a heavy toll. Combine that with starting first grade at just 5 years old, and he was consistently behind the curve in maturity and readiness, living in a perpetual state of anxiety and self-doubt. When a mind lacks a proper guide to process that kind of environmental stress, it doesn't shut down. It automatically invents its own unguided workarounds just to survive the pressure. For Lane, that dangerous workaround arrived at age 18, in the form of his first beer. This flowchart maps out the exact false positive that alcohol provided. Instead of resolving his anxiety through healthy channels, alcohol bypassed the resolution phase entirely and routed straight into a manufactured feeling of being whole. He drank until blacking out. From that moment, Lane was an instant alcoholic. He was operating completely blind, locked into a rapid behavioral loop that was accelerating toward a total system crash. Addiction rarely starts as the primary error. It is a desperate symptom, a mind trying to patch a deeply flawed operating environment using whatever tools happen to be within reach. After college, Lane recognized his severe depression and sought professional psychiatric help. The initial counselors he saw were incredibly kind. They helped him map out the trauma from his troubled family system, but they entirely missed the alcoholism. Because they lacked the specific data to diagnose addiction, no one ever suggested he stop drinking. The breakthrough happened later in Minnesota. A new counselor correctly identified the specific system failure, alcoholism, and immediately initiated a hard reset. Lane had to stop drinking entirely. You cannot begin to optimize a complex system until you strip away the secondary symptoms and correctly diagnose the primary point of failure. Lane's path to recovery began with a look back at his roots on a cattle ranch. He remembered a concept the ranchers called cow psychology. If you want to guide a herd without triggering panic, you don't charge straight at them. You approach them from a diagonal, gently shifting their momentum in the direction you want them to go. His father would patiently hand-feed the animals at weaning. By establishing a structured, patient environment, the cattle grew up naturally gentle and approachable. Lane realized he had to apply these exact patient environmental design principles to his own damaged psychological state. He had to gently guide his own mind, rather than forcing it into submission. The process of rebuilding those behavioral systems was messy and difficult. As Lane later summarized it, it's impossible to look good and recover at the same time. Authentic structural healing requires completely abandoning the need for external perfection in order to do the hard internal repair work. Over his career, Lane distilled his personal recovery and clinical expertise into a set of 11 concrete systemic guidelines. This blueprint organizes the guidelines. Diagnostics requires you to map vulnerabilities and face problems squarely. Hazard avoidance provides protocols for navigating your path and adapting to change. Finally, optimization is the daily maintenance of your life vision, resilience, and integrity. These rules do not magically delete your personal flaws or past trauma. They create a structured architecture where those flaws simply lose their destructive power. The ultimate goal of compiling this manual is environment design. It is the active process of carefully customizing the world around you to support your specific, individual limitations. Lane eventually accepted his own identity as a slow learner. He stopped treating it as a bug to be ashamed of and started managing it as a known hardware constraint. Take a look at your own internal systems. If you were forced to write the very first chapter of your personal operating manual today, what would it say? Reverse engineering past trauma is the process of manually writing the operating instructions you should have been born with.